I would see Kansas City as a team being on the outside looking in.
That's spicy.
Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. Brian McFadden here, joined with my partner in crime, Kevin Phillip Fox. 30 Minutes of Football. We will go on a timer. But the timer doesn't start until after the groove ends, Kevin.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Let's jam out. How are you, Brian?
I'm wonderful. It is a Wednesday. We're in the middle of OTA season, SZN, where every team is winning the Super Bowl this year, Kevin. It's very exciting.
It's peak hype train season, man. This is I always say this is the time of year where you have to look more alive than any other time of the year. This is where the fake camp superstars are going to be really getting you. You know, the hype usually dies down a little bit for training camp, but right now, you really got to watch your back with these names that you're going to
I've got multiple dynasty rookie drafts going on where I'm excited for the 9th pick in the 5th round because I'm going to take a flyer on a guy who's going to bust out of nowhere because I heard him mentioned once on Twitter.
I mean, it's better odds if they're mentioned positively than negatively, right?
True.
Like that's
That
at
is a
least
good
one
point.
little thing, but you got to take it with a shaker of salt, not just a grain.
It's probably why Will Levis has fallen in a lot of these rookie drafts. Anyway, if this is your first time here, for 30 Minutes of Football, we just do exactly that. We have a timer with, surprise, surprise, 30 minutes on it, and all we do is we just talk football. We don't have a script. We don't have an agenda. We just say what's on our mind. Last week, it ended up being a single topic, Kevin. Sometimes that's going to happen.
That was
Sometimes
fun, man.
It was great. Sometimes it's going to be 10 topics. We welcome questions from the live audience. Our number one fan, Armand, already in the chat. He was in there before the show even went live. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's give the people what they want. 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football starts now.
Let's ride.
Kevin, I pretty much hijacked the topic for last week, so I'm going to toss it over to you. Do you have something on your mind? Do you have a question? What's grinding your gears in the NFL right now?
I'd have nothing in mind as far as a question or as far as anything I really want to talk about. I do.
All right, then I have a question.
Perfect. Do it.
Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see. I'm afraid we were gonna get that. I was trying to steer away from that, man. It's a little intense. I was gonna go the direction of Armand, Josh Allen on the cover of Madden 24. That cover is freaking tough as hell. But on the Tyreek Hill thing, I have to publicly apologize. I actually don't hate Tyreek Hill, and I don't walk back my rankings at all. If anything, I maybe had Devontae Adams too low. I in hindsight, I looked at his numbers. Oh my goodness, Devontae Adams, Brian.
He's a beast, and he's done it now with multiple quarterbacks. You can't even say he's a product of Rodgers.
And I kind of felt like, I don't know why I had this feeling that he took a step back this year, but he absolutely did not. He was a man possessed.
It's because the Raiders took a step back, but Adams really didn't. Him and Josh Jacobs were that entire offense.
They were the engine. So yeah, I if anything, I might move him up to 3. Move one of the 5, it would probably be Cooper Kupp. I mean, I love Cooper Kupp. But, the injury thing, he hasn't done it for a while. I mean, he was on a torrid pace at the end of, before he got hurt last year, a freakish pace. That's in my mind still. That's still fresh in my mind with Cooper Kupp. And Tyreek Hill, there's a lot of debate about, because I mentioned this to other people. I've been defending my rankings all day. I call them a weapon, and I don't think of that as a bad thing. I think that has a really bad misconception. I think calling somebody a weapon makes them sounds like a gadget player. Like it takes away a little bit of their upside as a receiver. And I just didn't intend for that to be the case with Tyreek Hill. I still got him as my 6th receiver. But I don't know, Brian, what do you think? What makes him top 5 to you?
Well, I'm going to toss another question back to you. How many yards, don't look it up, how many yards do you think he had last year? This is a weapon. This is a guy you labeled as a weapon. How many yards do you think Tyreek Hill had last year?
I'm going to guess 1,500.
1,710.
Woo!
How many receptions? He's just a weapon, right? He's just a deep threat guy. How many receptions did Tyreek Hill have last year?
I think you're doing what I'm accusing these other people of doing. You're hearing what I'm not saying. Weapon is not a bad thing, okay? But 107.
119. So, no, here's the thing. I'm not saying weapon is a bad thing, but what
Yeah.
that does is it takes away the fact that he is a full receiver. And I'm not sure he was when he started his career. He used to be just a kick returner, but he has been labeled by some. And I thought this before, when he was still with Kansas City. This is not my Dolphins homerism here.
Sure.
It wasn't until I watched him the last year in KC when all those defenses started playing. This is the year where Mahomes struggled. He still had like 4,000 yards, but it was his one-off season, right? He had like 8 or 9 interceptions.
2021, yeah.
Yeah, where he would throw the ball to Tyreek Hill 12 to 14 times a game, and Hill would have 80 yards. He was his possession receiver. Tyreek Hill spent an entire season in an Andy Reid offense catching balls from Patrick Mahomes as a possession receiver. When I saw that, I'm like, this guy is... I used to think, oh, he's just a weapon. He's dangerous. Of course, you always got to account for him. He is actually an amazing route runner, so much better than people think. He can go up and get 50-50 balls, even though he's like 5'10", 190. He is a fully... He's got amazing hands. He literally does it all. He'll do screens. He'll do go routes. And he was 1,700 yards and 119 catches. This is not a guy who was catching 2 or 3 deep balls a game. He was one of the best. He was on pace for 2,000 yards at one point.
Yeah, and just to undercut my own point, he did a lot of it with backup quarterbacks. And so, like, absolutely, I got nothing but respect for his game. I absolutely hate that the arbitrary ranking number is 5 because it cuts off so many great players, and everybody's
makes for good conversation. But a lot of people, you got called out on multiple social platforms by leaving Tyreek Hill off,
and that's okay. I mean, I'll defend it until the day I die. I mean, part of it is I think that the one part of his game, and I don't even think you can deny this, I think he's less technically fundamentally sound than the 5 ahead of him.
By the way, Anthony, you can put a little ticker like Kevin hates Tyreek Hill. Just put it on the bottom.
Hey,
so people tuning in for the first time, they see what we're talking about here.
I mean, if you hate, who's your 6th receiver? You don't have Diggs in your top 5. Do you hate Diggs? You don't have Diggs in your top 5.
I would probably put Diggs at 5. As much as I love Cooper Kupp, but I would probably put him out of the top 5. Diggs would probably be at 5. Justin Jefferson number 1 for sure.
100%, no question.
Probably put Jamar number
Chase
2.
At 2. Yeah,
Chase
I remember you saying this before. Yeah.
Devontae
3, and then
Tyreek, Diggs. I think is how I would rate that top
Diggs.
5.
And
right after that, we're talking. I'd probably even put AJ Brown at 6.
I was going to say AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill are. I think there's a tier break. I think there's a significant tier break after the top 7. I don't think you can say any other name other than maybe DeAndre Hopkins on a normal season. I don't know about right now.
Here's how I kind of rated him, how I come up with these rankings in my mind, which is not scientific at all.
Oh, mine neither. Complete eye test.
We're playing backyard football.
Yeah.
I got first pick.
Yeah.
And I need a pass catcher. In what order am I taking these guys?
I love that lot. That's
playing
really
backyard
fun.
football. That's how I look at it. And Justin Jefferson, no brainer. I want that. But if Kevin gets first pick and he took Justin Jefferson, I'm taking Jamar Chase next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I thought of it. I'm not looking at whether they're, Diggs might be the best route runner of all of them. I'm not just looking at that.
I genuinely think he is.
Diggs is an artist when it comes to routes. I love watching him run routes. He's amazing. But at the end of the day, and this isn't a knock on Diggs so much as it is like praise for the guys that I would put above him.
Yeah.
Is that if we're playing pick up backyard, grind it out, tackle with no pads football, I'm going to pick Tyreek Hill ahead of Diggs. And
it's super fair. And I
Kevin
have
hates Tyreek Hill. Anthony put it up there.
I have absolutely nothing against, like I said, I have absolutely nothing against the talent of Tyreek Hill. I just think, like, in terms of, I wouldn't necessarily call him a technician, personally. Like, I think his game is a lot more predicated on talent and athleticism than it is on raw skills. He has raw skills. I am absolutely not taking that away. His talent
and athleticism is so extraordinary that it overshadows that.
It does overshadow.
Jamar Chase isn't a technician either.
I agree.
He's just physically gifted that he can.
You're right.
He can single-handedly take over a game.
You're absolutely right. No, and that's and I
think about those Ravens games in 2021. Like he had like nearly 200 yards receiving. He decimated the Ravens not this past season, but the season before.
I think to be a top 7 receiver, you have to have that. And I think there are technicians who don't yet have the production profile, such as like a Terry McLaurin, who, if he had a real quarterback,
that's quarterback.
But that's what I'm saying.
definitely quarterback.
But I think there's
McLaurin is from a talent perspective, is right
one
up
of the-
there.
could be a
Keenan
top
Allen.
five.
Keenan Allen is one of the best route runners in the NFL.
Brilliant.
Has been for a decade. Got a
He
great
never
quarterback, but he can't stay on the field.
Never gets brought up in the top
Yeah.
10, and I think that has a lot to do with age now at this point, which I think is also, I think that's part of the reason why I put Adams a little lower on my list. And I mean, Diggs is 29. I think Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill 30?
I think he's also 29.
About to be.
He's closing in on it, but he's not there yet.
That like, we are in a beautiful, beautiful spot of wide receiver play in the NFL. It's maybe the best it's been in my time watching football. I mean, I'll never forget growing up with like Terrell Owens and Randy Moss and, those kinds of guys. Steve Smith Sr., that is my boy, dude. I love Steve Smith Sr. That kind of gameplay, being a little guy, but still being a contested catch guy. And he loves Josh Downs too. He does.
Oh, you know how I feel about Josh Downs. I got him in my main league. I drafted him at 202. People thought that was a little rich, but I don't care. This is a dynasty rookie league.
I'm stoked to tease it out, and I do genuinely believe that I'm not biased towards Diggs because he's a Bills player, but I see more of Diggs, and I see the way he impacts games, and I see the way that teams try to defend the Bills based on where Diggs lines up, and I think that has a lot to do with his spot in my rankings. However, I have come around significantly more with today, and the bombardment of support of Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, even him being too low. And I have absolutely feel as though I'm so much more enlightened than I was when I first made this arbitrary top 5 list based on my eye test.
Guys, there's more rankings in the pipeline that Kevin's already recorded, so he can't take them back.
I'm ready.
There's heat coming. All right,
Give me all the smoke.
We've given you 10 minutes to defend your rankings. I'm going to give you a little bit of space to talk about your boy and your fellow Bills Mafia people, because the Madden 24 cover doesn't just have Josh Allen, and I love this.
Oh,
it has Bills fans, Bills Mafia. I just think that that's appropriate for the city of Buffalo, for what that fandom is, to show not only Josh Allen, but to show him in the stands amongst the crowd for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I have to be honest, man. I did get quite emotional when I saw the photo. Rumors have started to pour out last couple of weeks. It feels like it's kind of made sense now. Ever since his, really even his 2019 campaign, before he was like a technically good football player, the first time he was put on the NFL 100, he was 92, and it was after 2019, and people, the haters were like, "What the hell are we seeing?" Allen sucks, and like, I don't know. I pretty much knew. I remember I bought his jersey in 2018 after his Jaguars game when he ran over Jalen Ramsey heading into the end zone and flexed on everybody and had his first 100-yard rushing game coming back from the first UCL injury. And yeah, man, he's just got that dog in him, and I think I've kind of been waiting for his play style to be the thing that gets him the Madden, because I think Madden is so much more about like flash and pizzazz than it is about like, they've already had Mahomes on it. He's already been the cover boy. I think that's funny.
Armand calling out Josh Allen, who led the NFL in
funny.
turnover-worthy plays in 2020.
That's my favorite stat. I love turnover-worthy plays. It's so real. It's such a real stat.
He also led it in big-time throws. It's like that is the Josh Allen experience.
That's the experience, and I'm signing up for this roller coaster 10 times out of 10. But yeah, to see the fans on the cover and to see the way that he was being embraced and the way that he embraced them, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And you said it yourself. What it does for the fan base, what it does for the city, it's worth its weight in gold. I think, there's a lot made of this, and this is something interesting. I don't know how widely known this is in the NFL, but are you aware that the pick that was used to draft Patrick Mahomes was originally the Bills pick?
Yes.
Buffalo traded that pick, and Correct. It's this whole big story. And people, I like, call me crazy, call me a homer, but I'm not saying Josh is better than Patrick Mahomes, but I think Josh is the best quarterback for Buffalo. I believe that wholeheartedly. I really do.
So, do you still play Madden?
Absolutely. I got 23, bro. And like, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I still put sickening, gross, disgusting hours into it, but I thought it was maybe one of the worst Maddens I've played ever. I think they've been recycling the same game since 2019. And
I knew Anthony would disagree. He
loves it. I'm just so sick of the same exact like menu, the same exact features. Like, I just think it's so tired. And I think EA knows that. If you hear the drum beat from EA, it's, oh, this is going to be a different Madden. It's going to be better, yada, yada. I'm just waiting for the day. There it is.
Hey, that doesn't look like Josh Allen.
Shout out to our boy. That's Thomas, right?
Yeah, our new intern for Legit Football doing our
wizard.
amazing graphic designs. Thought we would have some fun and do an alternate universe Madden 24. I think we came up with this design literally right before they made the announcement. We figured it would be Josh Allen, but it wasn't official. But we decided to tweet it out anyway. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. It's really cool artwork.
Oh, it's
Obviously,
beautiful.
it is. This would have
He's
been
so
cool
talented.
as well. And you know what? I think Jalen Hurts probably has a Madden cover in his future.
Oh, I would say exactly. He's on the trajectory of, he just had his almost MVP season. If he gets the MVP this year, I think it's a no-brainer the following season. He's my pick, Brian, for MVP. My way too early pick for MVP is Jalen Hurts, believe it or not.
All right, we got about just under 2 minutes until halftime. Anything? I've got a bunch of topics, but I don't know if we want to get into them
Sweet.
right before halftime. Anything?
Let's go.
quick? Anything?
Let's go ham after halftime. I'll just address this really quick. Armand, I'm not at all afraid of the Madden curse. Mahomes won a Super Bowl. Bring it on. Bring on whatever the Madden. if that's the curse, then bring it on. I'm not. Brady won a Super Bowl after being on the cover of Madden. I'm not afraid. Bring it on.
I think the curse, which
was real.
seemed pretty real for a
Super
long
real.
time. I think it's not really a thing anymore. I
Someone
think
broke
the
it.
success the players have had that have
Yeah.
been on it, like of the success at the highest of level with multiple Super Bowls, I think we can put that Madden curse to rest.
It was real though. Something had to happen. There was some sort of a shift in the energy of the universe. There was some
strange.
sort of a juju
Somebody
break.
did a voodoo doll
A spell
exorcism thing,
type thing,
you know,
yeah.
to break
We're good.
salt shakers and magic circles.
It
and-
happened. Yeah, cannot confirm or deny my presence at this event, but the I can promise you there is nothing to be worried about. Armand, if you
All right.
want to drop, go ahead, Brian. If you got something before halftime,
I'm going
30
to
seconds.
tease what I want to
Sweet.
discuss after halftime. Early picks for playoff teams from 2022 that won't make the playoffs in 2023.
That's a hot
so
one. That's a hot one.
I've got a couple down here, but I want to plant that seed so you can have a little bit of time to think. Armand, if you have any topics or anybody in the chat, let us know. Ask some questions. This can also, if you're here
Please
tuning
do.
in for the first time, we will stop in the middle of what we're saying to address questions and change gears.
proven that.
That's the beauty of 30 minutes of football. We don't have a direction that we go in here.
No.
Where's
Never
the
had.
halftime sound, Anthony?
Yeah,
It
he's
was a
asleep
cool
at the
sound
wheel.
before. Where's the whistle? And he's got to keep it consistent.
He's sipping on that LaCroix right now. I know it. He had a
There we
mouthful
go.
of LaCroix. That's his
The
podcast too.
The refs were a little slow on the uptake. All right, this is halftime where we talk about a sponsor if we have one. We do not have a sponsor. I will throw this out. It's not an official sponsor, although we worked with them in the past. All 22. Have we talked about this before, Kevin?
I don't
have we
think
talked
so.
about All 22?
I love
So
all 22.
All 22 is not the film, not the
Oh.
All 22 film, fantasy football. Where you
Oh, you have
draft
told me about this.
53 man rosters. You start an entire offense and defense, 11 players, and it uses PFF grading. They had
so
their
sick.
debut season last year. They have a partnership with PFF so they can actually use the PFF grading.
That's so dope.
And I cannot wait. I just got my notification that we're planning our rookie. It's Dynasty too, so we're planning our rookie draft.
Holy crap.
For the season 2 of All 22. So just they don't even know I'm plugging this, but I just really loved. I've met the
sounds
founders.
unbelievably
We've done some
difficult.
multiple partnerships with the founders at All 22. There's some great guys. I met them at the Fantasy Expo last year. So check out just All 22 Fantasy. If you're a football degenerate junkie like we are,
All of us at this company.
you will be so glad that you did. All right,
I
Kevin,
love
you
it.
ready to roll into the second
I'm ready
half
to
and
roll,
talk about
man.
some playoff teams that may not be playoff teams?
I'm
Anthony,
absolutely
let's
ready.
get that timer going. Let's start the second half.
If we wanted to pivot right quick, just to answer Armand's question here,
Ooh, I love this. Great question.
my favorite thing is that he's only
Read the question because
have
if people listen to this and
Armand.
don't watch.
thoughts on D-Hop meeting with the Titans. Now,
Yeah.
I just the company line from DeAndre Hopkins and his people was
Leave
contenders
the
only.
question, or is he making the thing? I was gonna leave the question on there unless Anthony's
Yeah.
making the ticker.
No, that was me. That was my fault. Yeah, the company line from DeAndre Hopkins was contenders only. So yeah, we all know that the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans are totally contenders. Shout out to DeAndre Hopkins for that.
You know what else is a contender? Benjamins.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
Why else would you be meeting with the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah.
We have talked multiple times on the Legit Football Podcast, Kevin, that this is the opportune time for the Titans to just tear it
They
down to
could
the
be
studs.
one of the worst teams.
And they drafted a rookie quarterback. TBD. We'll have to see what Will Levis is. All signs are positive for Treylon Burks having a nice second year, at least based on what we're coming out of camp so far.
Excited about that.
Derrick Henry getting towards the end of his time. Ryan Tannehill, I think
Might
we can
get
pretty
traded.
much know is done. So that's still a possibility. But the point is,
man, I don't know why you don't.
Kevin Byard is showing up, but he wants to hold out. Like, the old guard is on its way out.
Yeah, it's a transition
Jacksonville
period.
is the king of the AFC South. Tear it down to the studs. So how does this make sense that DeAndre Hopkins, 31-year-old wide receiver who wants to go to a team who might have a ring chase, it doesn't make sense for him. It doesn't make sense for the Titans. They're going to have to pay him. There's no long-term benefit. They're not going to win the division. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think it would be super irresponsible by the Titans. For Hopkins, I do think you're right. I think cash is king, and I think he's going to go where the money goes.
It has to be money, right?
Money talks, man. Money talks. And, following Buffalo signing Leonard Floyd, I just don't see them creating the money. Kansas City was always a long shot from a financial standpoint. So
not that it was big money, but they signed Cam Dantzler today, too. Like, the Bills are adding players, not named DeAndre Hopkins right now.
It's true. Yeah, and the Ed Oliver extension. So I don't know. I'm looking at DeAndre Hopkins, Cleveland, Houston, Dark Horse Giants. Those are my Packers. Dark Horse Packers. I don't know if they'll do it. They historically don't do that,
but it's also the same thing. Rodgers isn't there. They're not looking to compete. I mean, they're a team that's going to take a step back unless Love is incredible right away, which I don't expect him to be.
Yeah.
I mean, Browns. I actually put out a poll on Twitter today, and the public thinks it's the Browns pretty strongly.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can bring up the results.
They're heavy contenders. The wording of the article about him going to the Browns was strong contenders. Like they're real.
We had 80 votes on Legit Football's Twitter. 53.2% picked the Browns as the team that DeAndre Hopkins will play on.
Mamma mia. That's
Bills only at 13.9, Chiefs at 7.6, other had 25.3. A couple comments or votes in the comments were the Texans and the Patriots.
I could definitely see him going to the Texans. I don't think he'll go to the Patriots. You remember Brian?
He won't sign with Houston after what happened before. Even though Bill O'Brien is gone, DeAndre Hopkins will not go back to Houston.
Possible. I would be a little more open-minded to it than you suggest. I think. Do you remember the video he dropped? The really corny video where he was like,
we can't know what nobody can escape the PGA LIV thing going on. I'm not going to get into it, but I just had to call it out because even our football show,
Brian,
that whole fiasco gets mentioned.
You addressed prior to the show or at the beginning of the show, NFL only. That's my stance towards golf. With all due respect, NFL only. I mean, I watch the NBA, but I will not talk about golf. Sorry, Armand, you're the GOAT, but no, thank you. Yeah. So, anyways, let's do our exercise. I feel good about the DeAndre Hopkins conversation. Do you have a prediction, Brian? Do you want to call your shot? It's so hard. I know. I'm gonna just say
Patriots.
I'm just gonna say Cleveland. Or it won't be the Patriots. He made a face, Brian.
I'm gonna say
he
Patriots.
Made a face in that video.
That's true. I forgot about the video.
It was a very sneery face.
Fine, Browns.
I think Browns or
the Browns
Giants.
shouldn't want to bring him in, but I'll say Browns. Real quick, Armand asked a question: will the draft be live streamed? Yes, we did it last year. We had our startup draft that we live streamed with Rich Jodice, the Pro Football Demon, who was in the league
GOAT.
with me. Kevin, if we have somebody drop, your
please.
first in line.
Thank you. I would love to. It sounds so fun.
It was amazing. I had the best regular season team, and my team absolutely crapped the bed in the playoffs. I got a bye, and it did me no good. It doesn't matter what fantasy platform you're playing on, it still happens. All right. So, do you want to start it off? I asked the question before halftime. What playoff teams that made the playoffs last year in 2022 are most likely not to make it?
I think I'm gonna go with. There's two
I have two in mind. So I wonder
really low hanging fruit. Yeah. So let's leave one. I'll pick one. You have the other. But
sounds good.
I'll start with the one that I think is the most obvious and that I think is the most slam dunk. I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are smelling the playoffs.
I didn't even think about them. I didn't even have them on here.
But they absolutely right.
Yeah, you're right. That is actually lower hanging than the two I had.
That's what I'm saying. Trask
because they had a losing record.
Oh yeah, and
they only got in because they won a really, really, really weak division.
Yeah, they won a really, really weak division, and they got absolutely stomped by the Cowboys. That was so hard to watch. That's going to be Brady's last game. That's pretty sad, pretty damn sad. But yeah,
A Dolphins fan, Dan Marino's last game was like 63-7 or something, destroyed in 1999.
I didn't mean to laugh like that.
So some of these guys, they don't go out on top. A lot of these guys do.
Yeah, I mean it's probably more common because you're not as good. Like I mean, Elway and Manning are the rare exceptions. Those dudes that get to go out on top, man, that's super sick. Brady should have after his last ring, honestly.
So yeah, agreed. The Bucks are 100% the most obvious choice, even though I didn't have it in my list. But Armand said in the chats, I'm surprised the Giants are not looking at D-Hop.
They should be.
That is one of my other teams.
Sleeper.
I believe that the Giants are one of those teams I have
trying
to not make the playoffs. We've talked about this before.
you.
This is not a knock on Dable. It's the homerism, even when they're not on your team. He overachieved, and that is purely
Jersey,
a testament.
Bro. You can't
That's
put that
purely
evil
a
on me.
testament to his coaching. So I'm a huge
great coach.
Dable fan.
He's a great coach.
But they were second in the league behind only the Vikings in their unprecedented one-score victories. That almost universally regresses to the mean because so much has to happen to win these one-score games. They won 7 of them.
Yeah.
The Vikings won 11. They won 7 of them. Vikings also.
There's
There's a possibility. They're not on my list because I just think that the NFC is not strong and there's a good chance that they'll return.
With the Bucks, that was my other one that I thought was obvious. So they're not on your list. You have 2 completely different ones. That's awesome.
Yes,
that's great for conversation.
So yeah, I just think the Giants. I think they'll play well under Dable. Daniel Jones, at least in the offense that they had him running last year, much improved. But
I think he's.
I just think some of those. Well, legit, like a mid-tier quarterback, legit, which is better than he used to be.
100%. Yeah, I think he's definitely a legit mid-tier. Like he
Anthony,
could eventually.
you got to Anthony create the who will not make the playoffs in 2023? Because people tune in for the first time, they don't know what these two jokers are talking about. So
exactly, that's exactly what we are. Armand is agreeing that the Vikings are a real threat. I think as long as they have Kirk, they're gonna contend, but. People
that defense, though, that defense got worse. They lost players, right? They lost Patrick Peterson. They lost Darius Smith.
Yep. Daniil Hunter's looking very likely.
Daniil Hunter's on the block. Yeah,
it's looking very likely like he's going to get traded. Cook's not going to come back. I love the Addison pickup in the draft. I freaking love Jordan Addison, and they'll
probably score enough points to get a wild card spot at least.
I think so too. But
I wouldn't be shocked if they don't make it.
People are handing the Lions the North on a silver platter, though. That is like they're becoming the chalk pick. And I've told Anthony a million times, I respect King of the Hill rules, man. Until somebody takes it, until the Lions prove they can take it, I don't think you can give it to them, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they're
I'll
the
still
Vegas
probably pick them to win, but I'll still probably pick them to win.
They're the Vegas favorites. But people, I mean, Bears, we don't have to talk about this in this episode, but Bears are one of those teams that if Justin Fields takes a step passing,
they are legitimately threatening.
They've got some pieces now.
Yeah, they're legitimately
But let's talk about my one other team that I picked to not make the playoffs. And this is more of a projection. I'm not predicting this. This is more, there's a lot of uncertainty with this team, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. First of all, they play in a juggernaut of a division and an even bigger juggernaut of a conference.
Yeah.
They didn't win the division last year. Cincinnati eked them out.
Yeah.
They've got a brand new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, who could be wonderful for Lamar Jackson. He could be the medicine they've been missing with Greg Roman out of there and that just old-fashioned, uninventive offense. But it also could go the other way, Kevin. It could be maybe it takes a year or two to really get in sync with Lamar. Lamar sat out. There was all that to see he's able to refocus. Is OBJ the guy we still think he is? He hasn't played in a year and a half. Zay Flowers is a rookie. Bateman's coming back from injury. Dobbins, I think, is set up to have a good year. But it's such a tough division. I think the Steelers will be better if Pickett just needs to be decent. That's if you look at that Steelers roster, it's pretty impressive, right? If Deshaun Watson isn't one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, then the Browns are suddenly really, really good. They had a great offseason.
Browns have gotten a lot better.
So I had Ravens, Giants, and you added the Bucks. Those were my teams. I would put the Vikings on there as a consideration.
Ravens, Giants, Bucks. I really like that. Ravens, Giants, Bucks, Vikings. I really like that list. I feel really confident that at least one of those teams is not going to make the playoffs next year.
I'll throw this out there too, and then I'm sorry.
Sure.
As a Dolphins fan, if Tua suffers another concussion, as great as this defense could be,
Yeah.
And as much as Mike White is an upgrade in that offense, they're probably not making the playoffs in an insane AFC East. So the Dolphins could be on that list too. It all depends on Tua's health.
The two health stuff, man. Oh my goodness, it's so sad because I've never I told you this before. You know that there's enough of a homer in me that I'm always gonna have a negative slant towards the Dolphins. But my goodness, did that dude prove everyone wrong last year? That dude is a baller, and it sucks that this is happening.
He found the right offense. He found that Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan offense that worked for his particular skill set, and they were the most efficient offense in the NFL for about 8 weeks last year, even ahead of the Chiefs until he got that concussion.
I mean, he supported 2 fantasy wide receiver ones, I believe. I'm pretty sure Waddle was a wide receiver 1. That's just that's unbelievable, man. Armand, my AFC team that does not make the playoffs is the Chargers. I don't trust Staley in the defense. Super fair not to trust Staley. What has he done to earn anyone's trust? The defense I'm projecting will get a little bit better this year. I do have a lot of respect for the pieces that they have. It didn't really come together whatsoever.
It's always
last year.
Injuries with them for whatever reason.
That's true.
Always injuries with the Chargers. Yeah. They get hyped up, and if you look on, they were one of my favorite rosters in the NFL last year. Me too. Well, J.C. Jackson was playing awful before he got injured, but then he got injured.
Really
but Joey Bosa missed a huge chunk of the season. Derwin James has had bad injury trouble in the past. He actually managed to stay healthy last year.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see Kellen Moore. I want to see what this Kellen Moore offense looks like.
I did a couple spoilers here. You talked about the Bears a second ago. Definite spoiler. I got Justin Fields as a breakout candidate. I think Justin Fields is going to light the world on fire this year. I really do. I think the Bears are going to threaten the Vikings, Packers, Lions. I think that division is going to be competitive, and I think the Bears absolutely could sneak a wild card spot. I'm just throwing that out there. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat. Justin Herbert is absolutely on my hot seat. I've heard for years what an elite quarterback he is. I've heard for years how special and talented he is. And this dude, I mean, people are hard on Josh Allen. What does Justin Herbert have to show for his years of success and his years of being a top 5 QB? You know what I mean? Like his fantasy finish last year was like 11. Like that's QB 11, Brian. That's not even like 5 or 6 or like 8.
I'm doing Anthony's job for him.
I would say that's I don't think that's true, but I think he's on the hot take.
See, Anthony, this is when you listen and you take advantage and
the hot take. The piping hot take.
Yeah, put the hot take on the screen.
Well, Brian, am I wrong? Is he on the hot seat or what?
Just no. They're about to extend him. He's not on the hot seat. He is. I think he's a product of that Joe Lombardi offense. I just think it's very conservative.
You don't think it's like a perspective reputation hot seat?
But here's the thing: it's not like he's not the reason they're losing games. He also was playing with broken ribs for multiple games last year. But he's actually had one of the lowest interception rates in the NFL. Some could say maybe he's a little conservative, but he takes care of the ball. He's got a rocket arm. He moves the offense. He single-handedly beat the Dolphins last year. The Dolphins the offensive line for the Chargers was crumbling. Yeah. It's not. I think you're going to see with Kellen Moore and opening up that offense. I think you're going to see a top 3 to 4 quarterback in the NFL. I think Justin Herbert has that ceiling.
His potential is insane. He's got one of the best arms in the league, no question.
I want to mention this quickly because I was going to. This is one of my topics. We're not going to have time today.
I don't
agree.
But
Armand says, I don't believe in Geno Smith to have another good season, so the Seahawks are my second NFC team that doesn't make the playoffs. You're writing
him off.
I want to address this next week. So you got a whole week to think about this, Kevin.
Teaser.
Because I put out a tweet today about just how good Geno Smith was last year.
Love that tweet.
Check out Legit Football on Twitter, _Legit Football. Go check out the Geno Smith tweet before next week, and then we will talk about it. Kevin, our 30 minutes are up. Post-game speech. You're at the press conference. How did your team perform today?
I feel like we did a really good job. I'm always going to think we can be better. I'm always going to point to those plays that I want back. But ultimately, I'm really, really stoked about how it went, Brian. How about you?
Well, I have Tyreek on my team, and so I'm pretty happy about how things went. All right, Tyreek, that is
and you can have him and Herbert, too. Those are your guys. That's all you.
All day. We could have had Herbert. We took Tua, but hey, if Tua stays healthy, I'm happy with that too. That is it for 30 minutes of football with Legit Football. Thank you to my co-host Kevin Phillip Fox, Anthony Weiner, our producer behind the scenes. Killed it with the music. Missed a few of the banner cues,
We'll get
Anthony.
him in
So,
there.
you know, I would give him a B. I'll give him a B for this show. Thank you to Armand, our number one fan, always in the chat, and everybody else who was watching and listening to this show. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're here for the first time. We do this every Wednesday night at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Check out the Legit Football NFL podcast with Kevin and friends, Mondays and Fridays. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next week.
Wow. Okay.